What's up you guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be actually replacing our coil pack connectors. You can see these are already brittle and gone, and we got some new ones. In this video I'm also going to be going over the actual pump install, pretty much on this Jabsco pump that was recommended me to someone on the Facebook forums that I'm admin for. You may know these original connectors are very brittle. Even inserting a key or a pick, they'll just completely fall apart on you. So, you know, do your best in not damaging the actual connector or seal, this rubber seal. So just make sure you don't damage this, as if this gets destroyed, it's not going to be much of a problem. Make sure you mark where each individual wire goes so you don't cross. As you can see, each wire here is different and they're not all the same as far as color sequences. So make sure when you put the new one, which is this right over here, you do it properly. Now these old and new connectors are designed differently, just so you know. Obviously the clip end is going to be going on this direction here, and this is the new clip. More of a visual image on the prong itself. As you can see, it has an inner and outer prong on both ends that kind of plug it into play into here. There's a special key that inserts from the top and from the bottom here, and it just goes in and it pushes those prongs in so you can just pull them out easier. You can use a pick to tear into this. It's pretty simple. It'll just fall apart once you insert a pick in. If you don't have the keys, the actual keys themselves, I'm going to put them in the description below so you can acquire them. But yeah, it's just a special pin remover that inserts from the top and bottom. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind, make sure when you insert this pin, this little eye is what I would call it. It looks like an eye to me, like a little slit. That indentation right there at the bottom of this prong, you got to make sure it's facing outward to these little windows, is what I would call them, or these little plastic retaining pieces, and they pretty much just link in to a little hole right here for these pieces right there in the center of this window. So just make sure it's always facing one way. I think they only go in one way, but just in case. Now, one thing you got to do is you got to make sure it's properly seated. As you can see, one of them is not properly seated. It looks like it's in, but it's not. You got to see that top of that window, the little eye that I was talking about. And the way you can do it is if you get a very thin screwdriver, a blunt head, nothing sharp, you just push in from the bottom, and you'll hear it click. Once it clicks, you're good to go. And if they're level from the top, just like so on the first two, like how they're displayed here, you're good to go. Now right now we're currently updating the cooling system. So pretty much I'm going to do a couple of test fits, put the bracket on the actual cooling fan itself. It's going to go back in its cavity right over there. Got all the lines. Going to run them through at least for now, just to kind of get an idea, see how much space I have for the pump. That's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Now I went ahead and installed the cooling system for my vehicle with the new lines. I already mounted my cooler. Everything seems to fit pretty good, including with the 180 that I did up here. The factory one would go behind the support bar and up and behind the radiator, but I wanted it to go up front to go parallel with the inlet and outlet. As you can see, it follows through. Now that's just temporary until I can make a bracket for it, but it seems to hold in that location where the fog lamp used to be. So there's airflow going in through that side, which is being of use. Then obviously they come up to the top and into the front. If you're going to use these long extensions, make sure you request a very short head. I had a little bit of trouble down here. Shaved off a little bit with a Dremel on this fan shroud, which is alright, it's just excess, and it fit perfectly. Pretty much you can see where it routes through, in between, right behind the headlamp. Now the next thing that I'm going to be able to be doing right now is seeing if this pump can fit right here in this vicinity. I did a test fit earlier, it should fit. I just got to remove this bracket down over here and make my own bracket. If I remove this bracket, it gives me a little bit more clearance down here. I can set the pump a little bit lower and I can go ahead and push it more back. That'll give me, and I can go ahead and fit it through there and get that out of the way. And then I can start on my plumbing. But before I do any plumbing for my DTK top mounts, I need to go ahead and get the placement on my main unit, which is the pump. Now, bear the griminess, how I am working on my vehicle. The pump's gonna fit situated just like this. And if you're asking how I'm gonna do it, it's very, very simple. So I'm gonna make a base plate, a square plate that goes onto this plate. The base plate's going to have these in between, sandwiched from this plate here to the new base plate. Kind of dampen the load or any vibration. Now the entire casing is not really going to be touching anything how I picture it. For the souvenir exchanger, the bottom hose, you have very limited space in between the crash bar. Now using this type of coil with the metal bar pretty much touching this top of the support frame will prevent it from kinking. Can't even pronounce that right. You just got to bend it, angle it, and it'll retain the hose shape without putting too much strain on a curve. Because again, instead of doing 290s, which you could do, I guess, I'm just gonna have a hose loop back up around here, so it's like one fluid-like motion. Versus 290-degree bends, which I might do, but I'm going to test this out first. Just getting all the plumbing situated. I already got my cooler. I just got to get the bracketing put in. Pretty much just support rods and then clamp up top. From up here, I already have the clamps. I just got to put them on. It's already getting dark. I was just running the lines and running the system to make sure my oil coolers, nothing was leaking. Everything's solid. I already got everything situated on this side. I just got to tidy everything up. I still got to run my lower outlet to my tank, but obviously I don't have my tank yet. And other than that, this is not going to be here. I just have it pushed aside. Still got a lot more to do, but there's progress. Now, one thing I gotta share with you guys is how I'm mounting this monster pump. It is not as easy as it looks, but I did make a custom bracket. I put support bars on each end to keep the tension on the grommets, and obviously they're going to be sandwiched in with a nut and a coupler nut as well. Or I think that's what they're called. I forgot the terminology for these. And to me, they look like coupler nuts, but whatever. And I put bracketing up here for support, but it's also to keep the hose from touching this casing. This casing will get hot, so I don't want to melt any of the hoses, and I want to keep it elevated where it'll stay cool and kind of not really close to anything. I will have to put some more material as far as insulation on this bottom one, because it's, if you look closely, it is relatively close, but not close. I have not lifted the pump yet. As you can see, I fabricated this bracket. Now it's not set in place, and I know I probably could have done a better job, but this is what I came up with in the time frame that I have. As you can see, I have these 3 mounting points here. One has been shaved off because obviously, you know, I can't get all 4, but 3 will be good enough. When I tighten these, it lifts the pump up by millimeters just by going up. As you can tell, look at the pump, because I'm screwing. See how it's moving it? It's lifting the pump up. So right now I am gauging it on where I want the pump to sit. You can see the pump moving as I'm tightening these to keep it elevated. And right now I'm just going to angle it to where I need it to be. Once I get that, I'm going to mount them with taper screws. Well, yeah. And just kind of go through, that's pretty much my little custom bracket. I just thought I'd share it with you, how I did everything here. I just got to tighten the bottom end, and then I'll secure everything in place. Everything's kind of loose still, because I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to put all this, but this is exactly where I needed to be. And this one on the bottom is a locking one. I didn't put it on these two because I have something separate for it. There's tension on here, but since this one's out on its own on this separate bracket, I need something to kind of keep it in place. So I'm unlocking part over here and just keep raising. And yeah, you guys get the point. Just thought I'd share that with you. Alright, so I got it exactly where I want height-wise, and it is a floating pump. No vibration at all. It's very, very secure. Now what I got to do is do my lines, get everything set up, and at least plumb everything and finish plumbing everything. I already secured the secondary exchanger. All this is good. I just got to do the lower outlet. I already got my underhood tank. That's going to go in too. And I need to get a relay and hook it up for this pump. And we'll be doing that right now. Alright, so forgive the mess. Alright, so running a power wire for your pump is pretty simple. It just requires a little tedious work. So here's my power wire. If you notice, it's going behind this panel. If you pull this panel down, you'll be able to slide it through following those power cables right there. So you're going to follow it through. You loop it around. I'm not sure if you can see the light over there. And the only reason you can see light is because I was able to pop this off so I can run my cable through. And you're just going to follow all the way down through there. You're going to do the same here. Remove these panels and just run it along through there. And at the very bottom, you're going to see a harness. You see that little rubber grommet? That's where you're going to force it in between. When you do that, you'll see it right over here. And you just feed it down to where your pump's at. I've attached my relay up here. I'm getting power. I'm getting a signal from the cigarette lighter. That's just going to get tucked away in here. I have it here because it's easier to access it. If I ever need to swap out, I can just pull this side panel up and get to the relay. Pretty much 30 amp thermal breaker, and then obviously into the battery everything's heat shrunk and soldered and ran accordingly. So this is it. I'm getting excited. Now I know this video was not put together as nicely as I wanted and as well edited. I do have a lot of video footage that I had to put together, slap together pretty much on the short amount of time I've had to do this. So hopefully it's understanding and you guys kind of get a concept of what I'm doing. The next thing I'm going to be doing is a top mounts, and that I'm going to go in very good detail and explain everything a little bit more better than what I did in this video for my pump setup and for putting pretty much everything all together. Now these are temporary because you already know that I'm going to be doing the top mounts, so that's just for now. I'm going to be making some adaptations or changes on the returns, basically just a Y and splitting hose, and that's pretty much it. Just going to top it off and run the system to make sure there's no leaks. Alright, so right now it is currently 66 degrees outside and I'm at 78.8 for my IATs. Now this is my first time driving Panzer out with a new pump setup and with a souvenir exchanger using 3/4 inch lines and still keeping the stock Supercharger cooler. The top mounts have not been put on yet, but I'm gonna do a hard pull real quick. I don't have my front bumper on, so I ain't gonna go all the way to 100, but I'm gonna give it a little pull just to see how this reacts. And we're gonna do that right. Holy shit, man. We're stopping at 90 miles an hour, slowing down. Slowing down, slowing down. Whoa. Okay. I don't know if it's just because I haven't driven this car in a while, but that felt aggressive as shit, including the sound.